Hey guys, Stewart Breeding, welcome back to S2TV. Today's topic is going to be a little unusual for the fitness industry, something you don't see discussed a lot out there. The topic is mastery, how to be a master at something and what the pursuit of mastery looks like. I want to loosely define mastery just for a moment as a perpetual student, somebody who is a professional at learning how to learn. Let me say that one more time. It's actually a skill to learn how to learn. In our culture, we do not really have a process of mastery. And even if we think about the masters that were in our country, like a stonemason, a bricklayer, a cabinet maker, a carpenter, somebody who had a skill of mastery, and it had to be handed down in a different process. It wasn't a process of memorization and then a test you took. It was a different level of skill that had to be developed inside of the person that was learning it, inside of their own cells, a much deeper type of learning than memorization. So we have a tendency in this country, we learn by memorizing, and then we perform the task that we needed to memorize, and then we forget about it again. And we are incredibly overloaded these days with data and constant feedback. We don't have to think for ourselves. We have Google and cell phones that we can talk into and ask questions, and we get immediate feedback. And we as a culture need that immediate feedback. And I'm just going to give you a different idea of learning how to learn. So, as many of you know, I've been a martial artist for many years, and I interject the methodology of martial arts, classical martial arts instruction, into my fitness instruction in my methodology. They're interchangeable to me. So I want to give you a little bit of background and kind of bring in some personal anecdotes into this. There was a book written by Larry Reynosa. He was a student of Steven Seagal, and that's right, Steven Seagal. And there was actually a time when Steven Seagal was a very respected martial artist. He was one of the very first American or Gaijin white people to go to Japan and study and also open a dojo in Japan. It was unheard of when he did this. And Larry Reynosa was a student of his that wrote a book called A Beginner's Guide to Aikido. And he wrote this book because in classical Japanese instruction, a classical Japanese teacher does not talk. You don't ask sensei questions, and he does not provide feedback. And that is true with the Zen tradition, it's true with the martial arts tradition. And he doesn't do this because he knows that he can't vocalize. He can't use words to explain what he is doing with his body. That he learned it through a process. And that process cannot happen just by articulating it or putting a video together and 2 + 2 = 4. It's just not that, what's the word? It's not that easy. So they wrote this book to try to help us Americans understand what is going on with the Japanese instruction and how we can best take advantage of that instruction when we're so used to immediate feedback and need to be told good job all the time and articulated, and we forget what we're doing and then we do it again, we're distracted, we're not paying attention. How do we do this? So Seagal was a perfect person to interview for this because he was an American with an American learning ability or learning experience that was going to Japan and now engaging in a classical learning experience where there's no words. You just physically are doing it. You're doing it by touching, you're doing it by feeling. It becomes a part of your cellular structure. It's a much deeper learning. And he writes in that book, and I will paraphrase it, that basically Americans have a difficult time, that learning how to learn is a process that they have to go through if you're going to go to Japan and study with these classical martial artists, because there is no feedback there. There's a longer process that you have to go through of learning how to look, feel, and learn. and not need an immediate feedback. or verbal instruction because it's just not there. Now, I studied with a master Aikido instructor who studied with the founder of Aikido. His name was Mitsugi Satomi, and one of the most amazing martial artists I've ever experienced in my life. Now, not only does he not speak English very well, he does not talk about what he is teaching because he knows that no matter what it is that he says to you, you can't experience what he's doing with his body until you've done it 1,000,000 times. Repetition over and over and over and over. And it is only through hyper attention and awareness that you have to watch every little detail that this man does, or you will miss all the finer points of his instruction, and it's all gone. So where I'm going with this is, I see a lot of our culture these days, we are so distracted. We have a hard time paying attention, a hard time being a student, a hard time learning how to learn, getting out of our own way, getting out of our own level of resistance and becoming a student again, and learning how to pay the utmost attention, and to also experience what we're experiencing in our body, to just feel what's happening in your body, so that the repetitions that you're doing in a fitness session are not just wasted work. You're not just doing it to expend calories and work. You're doing everything to ingrain in your nervous system, in your memory, how your body should be moving. What is a perfect repetition? What does it feel like to do something perfectly? To pay that kind of hyper attention in the moment. So I tell my clients all the time that, you should be sweating and in complete exertion doing one repetition because you're paying that much attention to what is happening on the inside of your body. Now, the same is true when somebody like an instructor is showing you something. You shouldn't be thinking about paying your bills. You shouldn't be thinking about what you're doing later. You shouldn't be thinking about somebody who's just texted you. And I question you that when somebody is talking to you, when you are learning something from somebody, are you really paying attention to them, or are you waiting for your moment to speak? And then you go and do something and you've forgotten what it was that they showed you to do. I question. Just ask yourself. If you're on the upside of that and you don't do that, man, that's great. I really applaud you. But I would guarantee if you would mindfully just stand outside of yourself for a moment and observe how you learn, how you interact with other people when you're being communicated with. Are you really putting yourself in a space where you can listen fully, or are you waiting for the next thing to happen? Is the monkey brain in the back of your head already spinning circles and you're waiting for the next thing to do? So now when you go to do that movement, you really don't know how to perform it very well. You've probably already forgotten it. And if you do remember it, the finer, intricate details of it are gone because you didn't pay attention to the instructor. So I want to challenge you guys. This video is not meant to beat on anybody. It's meant to wake us all up. 25 years of meditation, I still find myself in this place because I'm a busy guy. And I have to force myself to come back and be in the moment, to be present, to give this moment 100% and not think about the next second. To be right here, right now, all the time is a challenge for our culture. To be a good student, to give yourself 100% to everything that you do, and to pursue your life through a pursuit of mastery, to truly master your life. There was a great book by a samurai, Miyamoto Musashi. He wrote a book called the Book of Five Rings. And he talks about to know one thing is to know all things. And it took me a long time to understand what he was trying to say. And what he was saying was, mastery is a pursuit. And once you understand the intricacies of mastery, you can apply those intricacies, that method, to anything you want. To anything you want. To know one thing is to know all things. So I really challenge you to spend time, to be right here, right now. When you're training, give it everything. Get rid of your cell phones. Get rid of your distractions. Come a little bit early. Go sit on the toilet for 5 minutes and just breathe to put yourself in a mental space where you can give your session 100% with all your awareness, all your attention, all your being.